The future of gaming is not in a box. That's at least what Google wants you to believe as they announced the new streaming platform Stadia today in the press conference. What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video today to talk to you guys about that very announcement. And if you like what you see, please consider commenting, rating, and subscribing. But if not, that's okay too. Now, as you guys know, I'm a pretty big gamer. I've been playing games probably over 30 years by now. If I think when I first held a controller in my little bitty 4 or 5-year-old hand, probably puts me more in the 32 or 33 year range at this point. But who's counting? My point is I've played many a game and owned many a console. And I was really interested to check out what Project Stream was, which ultimately morphed into Stadia. I did a video on that a couple months ago. I'll put a link in the description box below. That is where I got to test out this new streaming service via Google. I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and while the latency was absolute zero and everything seemed to work on the surface, there was a lot of graphical imperfections, a lot of weird buffering type things that made me very aware that I was looking at a flat image, not a clear, crisp, vibrant HDR 4K image that I normally expect to see on my PlayStation 4 Pro or on my Xbox One X. That said, it was a cool entry into the world of gaming, and if somebody doesn't have a console or a big fancy TV, they can experience the joys of gaming, and that's why I praised it as an inventive and intuitive way to get into the market. And here we are now. This idea has been fleshed out even more with Stadia. Now, it is nothing more than a streaming service. That is what it is at the core. And whether you are a fan of the project, the Steam Link, that was internal streaming from your local computer on your local area network to a Steam box, I did a video on that as well. If you're a fan of something like that, that exists. Microsoft offers that exact same service built in natively between your Xbox One and your Windows-based PC. And not too long ago, PlayStation actually jumped on the bandwagon. Although they did have some form of streaming already, they've expanded that to other devices, again, within the network. So it's not something out of the, it's not something that Google dreamt up here. Everybody's thinking about streaming. But Google, with their power of that cloud, of that processing power that they maintain, they are able to process everything offline as opposed to the PlayStation or the Xbox or the Steam processing that requires you to process it and kind of re-host the video back to yourself. With Stadia, they're going to do all the processing for you on their network, and all you have to do is have a screen and a controller, and you're in. Now, they haven't really got into pricing yet. It's coming out sometime in 2019. We don't know much more than that, other than they promise 60 frames a second, up to 4K, potentially up to 8K, potentially up to 120 frames a second. These things are a way off, though, okay? They also mentioned that some titles will support HDR, but where I am excited is for the accessibility of people who don't really invest all their time and money like I do into gaming or don't even have a console. And I have always maintained the healthiest that the gaming world will be is when everybody's playing games. And yes, there are a lot of us. I don't think the industry is in any jeopardy at all based on everything that I've seen from all the major releases, the Red Deads, the GTAs of the 5. I mean, obviously Rockstar has it figured out, but the sheer amount of sales that PlayStation has had with the PlayStation 4 and all the resurgences of all our fan favorite titles, Devil May Cry, God of War, I think the industry is in a very, very good place. But that doesn't mean there isn't room for new people. That doesn't mean that more people won't jump on. And I think this may be a great entry point, as were those other services I mentioned. You need to have that processing power. Here you don't. You need a smartphone, a controller, and a decent internet connection, and you're off to the races. But that does raise a lot of questions. How much bandwidth do you really need to get this going? Now, I have about 125 down, thanks to our good old friends at Spectrum. Usually it tanks to about 40 down at night because, I don't know, they're Monopoly and they could do whatever they want. And it's frustrating, but I was still able to stream Assassin's Creed Odyssey without really any issue. where I don't know how much lower can you go. Can you do this on 3G? Probably not, right? How fast does it need to be? If you're like me on Sprint, what happens when your connection is severed? Because it's going to get severed quite a bit. How does that work when you are not at your house and you're on the go? Which obviously I think is a big selling point of this, is for people who are going to kind of be out and about, right? So Google's really tackling a lot of markets at once, but it really is dependent on something they can't control, which is your home internet speed and potentially your home bandwidth. I don't have that issue yet, although net neutrality is a very real thing. I haven't yet really seen the impacts of it too bad here yet. We'll see what happens in a couple months. Obviously, things change all the time. But Google can't control that. What they can control is their end and their delivery service to you. And in that regard, they have, and in my opinion, always will excel at this. They are monsters when it comes to the processing power. They showed off over 10 teraflops of processing power. The latency, I've experienced it. It does not exist. Other than the graphic image, which I'll talk about last, you really wouldn't know that you weren't playing this locally, a game locally. That's how fast it responds, and it works so well. It's so easy to use. The entry point between clicking links and just instantly loading into a game via, they talked about all the social media platforms via Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, etc. The streaming capabilities of copying saves over to other people, or to create save states and distribute them out to people to kind of set up these mini challenges, like fighting a boss when you only have 1 HP left or something like that. There are a lot of possibilities, and Google's really doubling down on that streaming platform with the YouTube integration and how you easily turn your streams into videos and cutting and pasting and getting the community involved, which gets you clicks, which gets them money, which gets you money, and everybody wins. That's the idea here. But the thing that concerns me most, and this is coming from a guy who really does like that nice eye candy, the guy who went out and got a nice TV and the PlayStation 4 Pro and eventually the Xbox One X. Those consoles look amazing. Now, you're never going to substitute the power of a high-end gaming PC. I live and breathe it. I can tell you that as I'm looking at my ultra-wide monitor now with my ultra super beefed up graphics card. This thing looks phenomenal, and there's nothing that comes close to it. But you still get that vibrant image because the processing is happening locally. You don't get that flat, washed out, encoded image that you do on other platforms. And I know there's a lot of debate over how good streaming looks versus Blu-ray versus DVD, whatever. You'll never convince me, and I don't think you'll ever convince the true audiophiles or the TV files that physical media and physical processing happening there with a nice HDMI cable or a nice fiber optic cable for your sound, what have you, will ever be worse than streaming. I don't think anyone's going to say, hey, streaming looks better. As a guy who has HBO and has watched Game of Thrones, streaming it on the service and then borrowing my friend's DVDs and watching the Blu-rays, Blu-rays, not DVDs, that he had, night and day difference. And I immediately saw that on Assassin's Creed Odyssey, that as good as that service is, as good as the Stadia service will be with all the bells and whistles, it will never, to me, as a hardcore gamer, it will never beat having a console in your house, plugging it directly into your TV or processing things on your computer. But I understand this service was not made for me. It's made for everyone, and everyone doesn't have all these fancy toys, and everyone just wants to dabble in games and not tie up shelf space and have to go out and buy games and update drivers and things like that. They just want to pick up a controller and play, and for that, this service is going to be phenomenal. Again, we don't know price point. We don't know the exact release date. We're still not entirely sure of the library. I suspect you're going to see Google make a major presence at E3 2019, which is really, really exciting to think about that. They have already teased some big releases. They mentioned that they're going to get the new Doom game alongside everybody else, so that there are big partners that are interested in this. I would suspect everybody who is a publisher is interested in this because the reach of Google is really I mean, it's the world, right? I mean, the amount of people that use this service, the amount of people that tie into the Google platform, that is now your potential audience. And I think that is who they're going to focus. And there are the dedicated streamers out there who still haven't jump shipped and gone to Twitch or to Mixer, who are still sticking with YouTube. They're probably going to really enjoy that capability as well. And Google also even mentioned that they have their own studio. They're working on their own first-party Google games specifically for this platform. So I think they've really got all the pieces in play to make an amazing, amazing experience for a lot of people. Again, for me, it's something I am not quite interested in, but I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think about the Google Stadia service. Is this something you're interested in? What do you think the pricing model is going to be? Is it going to be a flat rate to get a bundle of games? Is it going to be a per title experience? Is it going to be something where you rent games similar to Game Pass? We don't really know. Maybe it'll be all those things. Maybe it'll be lumped into YouTube Red or YouTube Music. It's just something we're going to have to wait and see. But I'm very excited because it has to do with gaming. And as you guys know, I'm kind of a big gamer. So with that, I'm going to close out this video and thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.